How are Arizona food banks responding to the challenges of ending hunger in difficult economic times? I'll talk to two food bank leaders, but first, David Major takes a look at an East Valley food bank that's been serving those in need for 30 years. It's part of our continuing coverage of Arizona Giving and Leading.
4 days a week, the Apache Junction Food Bank distributes mountains of food to people in need. Early in the afternoon, volunteers are busy sorting and bagging groceries, while dozens of clients line up outside.
We service families that are low income. They're able to come in here every 30 days to get food.
It's been exactly 30 days since Dale's last visit. The disabled veteran says his SSI and VA benefits don't quite cover the extra mouths he now must feed.
My daughter got left by her boyfriend, husband, and she moved back in, and we're taking care of her financially and her baby.
I'm not getting food stamps right now. I've been trying to for the past 3 months, and I've got 4 kids, so that's why I'm here today. We have nothing to eat.
I work at the 99-cent store down the road from my house, and I'm working for minimum wage right now, and it's just too small of a check to really support me and pay the rent, the bills, and food, and all that stuff.
At least 2 loaves and a roll.
Volunteers like Betty Bowes make this food bank work.
These people are hurting. They don't have jobs, they don't have homes, they're in financial situations that are depriving them of a basic life necessity, food. So if we can do anything to help ease that pain, then that's a good thing for everybody.
All our people are all volunteers. Our operations manager, who's a part-time person, he's the only one that's financially paid, but everybody else is. We have something like over 300 volunteers' names a year.
Please have your picture ID and proof of residence.
Doors open at 2 p.m. Clients are asked for a photo ID and proof that they live in the food bank's service area. They have to meet poverty guidelines and provide documentation for any dependents. The amount of food they get is based on the size of their family.
We believe we are the largest in this area, and we give them the most food.
Board President Nick Kuzmich takes pride in how much food the organization collects for its clients. Some of it comes from the St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance.
We're an agency under contract with them. We get food from them once a week, and that's based on the number of families we feed in previous week. If we had no other food, that would be the minimum requirement that we would give out.
This is what we consider the basic minimum for a family of 1 or 2. It's a 3 to 5 day emergency food box.
But clients leave the Apache Junction Food Bank with carts full of food, most of it donated by local grocery stores.
If it wasn't for them, 90% of what we have wouldn't be here. I mean, just all the extra stuff.
The local community is also very giving.
People donate here, whether it be money, whether it be food. There's something about the Apache Junction area. People donate.
Food and financial donations slow down in the summer months when snowbirds go home and others go on vacation. But the number of people seeking help remains on the rise.
We have increased our families who come here by 30%. 2 years ago, we were a little over 17,000, and last year was 22,000 plus.
I noticed last year, probably around July, I noticed that the vehicles were looking nicer and nicer and nicer that the people were showing up with. And that kind of scared me because it tells me that there's a lot more people hurting than we even thought. And of course, the numbers went up. And that's why I say we don't really feed the hungry, we feed the financially distressed.
People like Nicole, who hopes this food will last 2 weeks.
It's really important. I'm glad they're here.
And Michael, who says this is helping him make ends meet.
I'm very grateful for this place. I'm very grateful for Apache Junction to have places like this. Very happy.
Here now to talk about food banks and efforts to end hunger in our state are Ginny Hildebrand, President and CEO of the Association of Arizona Food Banks, and Beverly DeMoore, Chief Operating Officer for the St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance. She becomes President and CEO of the Alliance the 1st of July. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We saw how that particular food bank works. In general, people hear food bank, and I think they know what it is. What is it?
Well, I'm going to pitch that to Beverly because she's working at a food bank and really can answer that question very, very well.
Sure. Okay. We are basically a giant gatherer in of food and then distributor out of it. And so we're getting a lot of our food through the grocery stores. You saw that in the video. A lot of manufacturers will directly, they'll overproduce on purpose in order to give food to us. So we bring it all in. At St. Mary's, that's to the tune of about 6 million pounds a month, to give you an idea. And then we distribute it out through other nonprofit agencies. So Apache Junction is a good example. They're either smaller food banks or pantries, or it will be a nonprofit that has a need to feed people. Maybe it's a domestic violence shelter or a soup kitchen. If you come down to the food bank, it looks a lot like a Costco warehouse. It's a very big, very efficient operation.
And that's your experience as well?
Absolutely. St. Mary's is one of the largest food banks in Arizona and in the nation, for that matter. And our other food banks, United Food Bank here in Mesa area, Desert Mission Food Bank in North Phoenix, Community Food Bank in Tucson, Community Food Bank in Yuma. They all serve all 15 counties in the state, so they're putting out a lot of food.
Are they putting out more food in tough economic times? You would think so, but are you seeing that? Are you hearing that?
Well, some of the food resources have diminished some. For instance, federal commodities that we receive through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That has decreased about 30%. But we've seen some increases in other areas that have made up for some of that, not all of it. And so oftentimes our food banks are having to purchase food to fill in the gaps.
I was going to say, the price of food, the cost of purchase, federal subsidies, all of these things, how does that impact? Give this dynamic here as far as a food bank is concerned.
Sure. Every time you do something from a dollar standpoint, it doesn't even have to be the cost of food. It can be the cost of insurance. Anytime you are getting at a family's bottom line, it's going to stretch their money elsewhere, and the first thing that they can give up is food, which means they're going to probably show up at our door. The flip side to that is we also have more money, we have to spend more money in order to supplement the food. So we get it coming and going.
Yeah, so are you seeing more of that, less of that? How has that picture changed here in the past few years?
Much, much more. St. Mary's in particular, we've doubled in terms of the pounds that we've distributed in the last 2 years. We've been very quick to say that we can only do that because of donors. People donating food, time, and money to the food bank is absolutely critical to our being able to exist. The thing that is my worst nightmare now is that you start to see a little bit of easing in the economy is that people are going to forget. And we can't let them, because the people that we're serving are the ones that need the most help. And it's going to take them the longest to get out of this.
Good times and bad times, people donating food, time, and money. What are you seeing? Again, it's so difficult to figure out when it's a tough economic situation. Do people donate more? Do organizations donate more? Do you see less? What are you seeing out there?
What our food banks have seen, Ted, is that we've got more people stepping up. Those who have resources realize that these basic needs like food are things they want to contribute to. So we've seen some folks, some corporations, some foundations even, step up this in the last couple of years to a very difficult situation and giving more than they've ever given before.
Interesting. Are you seeing that as well? This private relationship with private industry and such, has that changed?
Yes, because I think people are more aware of hunger. As you heard in the piece, they were worried because they saw nicer and nicer cars starting to arrive.
Yes.
So if anything, there's been awareness that hunger isn't necessarily the homeless guy in the street, that probably your neighbor is struggling with it. Most of our clients are working. They're just not working enough. So they've either had their hours reduced or they've been furloughed, and just whatever it is impacting their ability to make it all the way through the month. And that's where we step in. We are providing food to just get them to that next paycheck.
We talked about food donations and the variations there. What are you seeing as far as monetary donations?
Our monetary donations are up. We're watching very carefully. It's kind of ties back to what my nightmare is right now, which is that people are going to relax and maybe lose the focus that they've had on basic human needs, because while the rest of us may be catching a breath, our clients certainly are not able to do that yet.
Same thing with you as far as monetary donations?
We know that the recovery of the recession has not caught up for everyone. And so our food banks, not only St. Mary's, but United, Yuma Community Food Bank was just talking to me today. They're seeing 22,000 people a month at their location in Yuma, plus the other agencies that they're serving in Yuma and La Paz counties. This is an unprecedented number. And our food banks this year are probably going to top out about 140 million pounds of food to people. That means that there are a lot of folks who are depending on food banks. We know from national data that it's a chronic need. food is not just a one-time in 6 months. Now it's almost every month or every week. And we know that SNAP benefits, food stamps, they don't last very long.
And summer is a particularly difficult time. We all distribute more food during the summer than we do during the holidays because kids are out of school, so they don't have access to breakfast and lunch programs anymore. Parents are probably having to pay daycare, paying more for gas, paying more for their cooling. So again, it stretches their budget, and so they are much more likely to come to us needing help. We're seeing it already.
As far as government cuts to services in general and close to home with you, what are you seeing? What is the impact?
Jenny can talk a lot about the SNAP program. That's probably the biggest because if a family's trying to make it, they'll rely on food stamps to fill a gap and then also the food banks.
Yeah, you had mentioned food stamps as well, but other services, other programs, what are you seeing?
The commodity program that I mentioned before, that was cut in the federal budget. So we're seeing fewer commodities coming there through the food banks. They form the basics of a food box.
They're good core solid items.
Core solid items. And what we know is that there are other programs, like another one called Commodity Supplemental Food Program. It's really for seniors, and that has a waiting list of 2,000 people in Arizona right now. Folks that are eligible but can't get on the program because there isn't enough caseload. We know that SNAP has been kind of targeted at the congressional level for cuts in the Farm Bill and in the next budget. We're working with our elected officials, trying to help educate them to understand what, in fact, those programs do for households in their districts.
Are they listening?
We hope they are listening and they're hearing what we're saying, yes.
What are you saying? How do you get them to listen? How do you make your case?
In one sense, we're very lucky because if you come to visit St. Mary's, you can actually see the people. So we were on a tour yesterday, and one thing St. Mary's does, which not all food banks do, is direct client services. A lot of times it's the food out the door and it's going in a truck and it's going to someplace else. If you come visit us, and anybody's welcome to, if you come to our direct client services center, you are seeing the looks on the faces and the people who are there, and it puts a humanity to it. And I guarantee anybody that we can get there, elected officials leave feeling very, very differently.
As far as collaboration with government and nonprofits, collaboration between, it sounds like a lot of collaboration between nonprofits here in Arizona.
Yes,
Talk to us about that dynamic.
That's really the purpose of the Association of Arizona Food Banks. We're here to try to help the food banks identify what the projects are that can be collaborative. On the other hand, we're also working with government agencies to make sure that the communications lines are open and that they're able to come to us when they've got a problem, or we can come to them when we have a problem. And that has made all the difference. Other states will look at the model here in Arizona and say, how did you do that? And we say, it's just the way we do business in Arizona.
And as far as that collaboration is concerned, is there a challenge of overlap? Do you have to kind of make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing and not getting in each other's way?
Absolutely. I mean, if we've been granted this product, and so there's a high sense of responsibility on our end to make sure that we're handling it efficiently and there's no overlap.
And you're seeing that as well?
Absolutely. I can tell you about a wonderful thing that has happened just in the last couple of months where we were trying to fill in a hole that was created by a loss of transportation for a gleaning project which handles fresh fruits and vegetables. We're now collaborating directly with St. Mary's Food Bank. One of my staff has an office in their food bank and comes back and forth and manages the trucks for both organizations to make sure that we're doing things in the most efficient and effective way.
Last question. What people watching right now, is there a misconception? What do you want them to know about food banks?
That we're serving families and that we have a horrible childhood hunger problem in this state. I don't think people see that a lot because hunger's hidden. We need to do a job in getting that out there. Almost 30% of the children in Arizona are living in hunger, and that has an enormous impact on their ability to learn, for their families to function. And so what food banks are trying to do is fill that gap and give those families some hope.
Quickly, what message needs to get across?
I think that food banks bring hope. And when people have food on their table or a little bit in their cupboard, they're able to be more stable and do a better job.
It's good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.